The Memphis Grizzlies won Game 2 versus the Los Angeles Lakers. This, of course, being in spite of the fact that they were missing their superstar player, Morant, who went down with a hand injury late in Game 1. Because of this team winning without Ja and losing with him, this has led many to bring up a question that has been asked before and I have never really addressed, and that is, are the Memphis Grizzlies better without Ja Morant? Let's talk about it. The NBA playoffs are here, which makes now the perfect time to check out today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy for someone who is new to daily fantasy. It is just you versus the projections. Select 2 to 6 players and pick whether you think they will get more or less of their projected stat. Get them all right and you can win up to 25 times your money. Prize Picks is also running a massive giveaway. Every day, one random Prize Picks user will have a chance to become a millionaire. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern will be randomly selected every day to make a 6-pick flex play. Get 4 picks correct and you can win $16,000. Get 5 correct and you'll win $80,000. And if you get all 6 correct, you will walk away a millionaire. And what's great for you is that if you have not downloaded Prize Picks already, first-time users who use my code RUSTY will get an instant deposit match up to $100. So let's say you put $50 into Prize Picks will give you $50 and so on. So click the link in the description to download Prize Picks, and again, use my code RUSTY for an instant deposit match up to $100. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring this video. The Memphis Grizzlies in the last 2 seasons are 33-13 with Tyus Jones starting in place of Ja Morant. There was even an early stretch in 2021 where they ended up going 10-2, and that's really where this narrative began. And then of course they beat the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 2, a team that beat them the game before when Ja Morant was there. The evidence is certainly compelling, there's no denying that, but when you actually take a look at these records, these numbers, with just a more critical lens rather than taking them at their surface face value, the story becomes more nuanced. First of all, for that early stretch in 2021 for the Memphis Grizzlies, they really could not have had an easier strength of schedule. Over those 12 games, they only played 2 teams that were above 500, and both of those teams were also not good due to injuries. They played the 15-3 Philadelphia 76ers, who were starting Furkan Korkmaz and Andre Drummond, meaning no Joel Embiid, and a 14-11 Miami Heat team that was starting Dwayne Dedmon in place of Bam Adebayo. This is a pretty weak sample in my opinion. It was a competent basketball team beating up on incompetent basketball teams. Meanwhile, when you take into consideration that this year, the present, the time that matters now, they are 10-11 without Ja Morant this season. That of course meaning that they are 40-21 with him. I find it pretty ridiculous to value that one sample and then just completely ignore the newer, more nuanced sample where they actually played teams that were good. And it also points a finger at Ja for what really has happened many a time in NBA history. This is kind of akin to like the Patrick Ewing effect, or like when people talked about back in the day Kevin Durant and the Warriors. Like, are the Warriors better without Kevin Durant? There might be some potentially compelling numbers on paper, but again, there's more to it. What is happening here is more a sign of good depth of talent and good coaching, resulting in the Grizzlies stepping up significantly without Ja. There's 2 ways to interpret this, and that's really where these 2 sides of the argument come from. You can perceive this as Ja Morant holding back his teammates and preventing them from reaching their fullest potential, or you can view this as just a good culture, good coaching, and a good organization where players step up to the plate when necessary. I don't think it should be a knock on Ja Morant that his team is just pretty damn good at filling the void that he leaves behind when he's not there. Tyus Jones is the main culprit here and why this goes the way that it does, because Tyus is well renowned as one of the best backup point guards in the entire league. In fact, for me personally, he comes number 2 only to Malcolm Brogdon, who just won 6th Man of the Year. Tyus is a very, very steady player known for his ability to handle the ball. He takes care of it really well, does not turn the ball over. As a starter for the Memphis Grizzlies for his career, he averaged 7 assists to just 1 turnover in the game versus the Los Los Angeles Lakers in Game 2. He had 8 assists to just 1 turnover. He also is pretty consistently scoring a relatively efficient 13 points per game, not a big defensive liability, and just overall probably a starting caliber point guard on the Grizzlies bench. Obviously 13-7 isn't just replacing the crazy box score you can expect from Ja, but having this steady backup option certainly makes it a lot easier for a team to play steady and consistent even without a superstar player there. Having Tyus there to just keep everyone level-headed and still playing competitive basketball then allows Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. to step up offensively, which is what they did in that previous run, especially Desmond Bane, and what they at least tried to do in Game 2, although they were kind of iffy. And they also have players who just consistently have big breakout games. Obviously, late in the season, you had that game where Luke Kennard went 10 for 11 from 3, and then in Game 2, of course, we had Xavier Tillman having 20 points on Anthony Davis. The thing about having a superstar player is it lets the rest of the team get a little too comfortable banking on that player to carry the load for them. And when that talent is suddenly void, most NBA rosters are not equipped to handle something like that, but the Memphis Grizzlies are. And it feels unfair to me to blame Ja Morant for his teammates only bringing their A game when he's not there. I realize how you can reverse engineer that into Ja holds his teammates back from reaching their A game, but I just simply don't think that's the case. It's also pretty damn clear to me that the Grizzlies have a very specific game plan for whenever Ja Morant does go down, because you'll notice at the end of Game 1 when Ja Morant got injured, the whole damn team collapsed. They were not ready to just go into the Grizzlies without Ja mode on the spot. It was something that had to be built up to, it was something that had to be planned for, and they had that plan going into Game 2 and executed it well because, again, a well-ran organization, but this team has 2 modes and you can't just flip between the 2 constantly. Is it fair to say the Grizzlies play better basketball without Ja as a team? Sure. But they also, have to. It's quite literally the only way that they could get the consistent result of winning every once in a while. And really what I have to ask is this. Imagine going into the playoffs this year, the Grizzlies are the 2 seed, but Ja Morant isn't even on the roster. Now again, as previously mentioned, 10-11 this year without Ja, 40-21 with him. They were not going to be the 2 seed without Ja Morant. They probably wouldn't have made the damn playoffs. But let's just say, hypothetically, this team is the 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they are starting Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and let's just say for the sake of it, Steven Adams is healthy. Do any of you believe in that team at all? Even a little bit? Do you really think that that would not be considered one of the most fraudulent 2-seeded teams of all time? Do you really believe the Memphis Grizzlies would be a better basketball team without Ja Morant when you really look at it? This team would be universally mocked and perceived as fraudulent. They would draw comparisons to the 2015 Atlanta Hawks, maybe more favorably the 2017 Boston Celtics, but just teams that win a lot of games in the regular season, but they don't have the it factor, the superstar factor of Ja Morant. Yes, this team can win without Ja Morant, but can they win at the highest level without him? Obviously, they haven't done that either way, but you need a superstar factor in order to win at that highest level, and Ja Morant, if he doesn't definitely have it, he's certainly so much closer to it than anyone else on his team is. To me, this is just like the "Are the Warriors better without Durant" thing from a while ago. Yes, undeniably the numbers on paper suggest there is some validity to that statement, but basketball is not played on paper. You need a superstar player in the NBA to win at the highest level, and even if the Grizzlies sometimes do well without Ja, the ceiling on that team is capped without him. Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams is not a championship roster. It's not even really a playoff roster. So yeah, no. The Grizzlies are not better without Ja, and I think it's kind of ridiculous to suggest as much. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.